If you look at the back, because this is a heat pump system, the lines run in an exact straight line. When comparing and contrasting to the Ford Mustang Mach-E, you'll notice that the lines are not nearly as concise. So Ben, do you want to go ahead and grab the first component to compare, and we can talk through the differences?
All right, well, first we're going to grab all the lines that the Mach-E has, which is, as you can see, a whole bunch of lines when compared to what the Tesla Model Y had. There's actually 35 different hoses here, which is a very large number when looking at the thermal system.
Look at the weight just in the fluid, You aren't going to get range if you can't get rid of weight. And I need efficiency when it comes to wiring and plumbing. This is where things start to fall apart on the Mach-E. But bear in mind, this is the second best product that we've looked at. That's ponderous, isn't it? This is better than everything else that we've seen apart from Tesla. This is better than everybody else.
Hey, I'm Stephen and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. If you're an engineering nerd, it's your lucky day. Unless, of course, you also happen to be an engineering nerd who works at Ford, in which case I highly recommend not watching this video. I don't want to make you cry. In this video, Sandy Munro and the folks over at Munro & Associates are doing a deep dive into the absolutely terrible engineering of the Ford Mach-E electric vehicle's thermal management system. This is shockingly bad, and the most surprising part of all, as you saw in the introduction to this video, is this is actually the second best thermal management system in an electric vehicle that Munro & Associates have torn down. We've been hearing now for a decade that the competition is coming. Just wait until the big boys release their electric vehicles. Tesla's in big trouble then. Admittedly, these comments have come from ignorant fools who do not understand engineering, period. They're completely oblivious to the fact that underneath the hood, where it actually matters when it comes down to the engineering and the manufacturing, electric vehicles are entirely different beasts to internal combustion engine vehicles with almost nothing in common. They're totally different beasts. And we're now starting to see these differences manifest themselves. As the so-called competition starts to release their own electric vehicles, we look under the hood, thanks to Sandy Munro and co for actually doing the deep dives and the teardowns, and we discover, unequivocally, inarguably, that the engineering, the stuff that actually matters if you want to actually make vehicles that one, perform decently, and two, can be sold profitably, is complete and utter garbage. And I don't just mean ordinary, I don't just mean bad, I mean horse shit garbage. The point where if you worked on this project as an engineer, you should be embarrassed. Now look, admittedly, designed by committee, working in a big legacy automotive manufacturer, too many levels of management, too much hierarchy, too many people involved in the decisions. So I'm not trying to disparage the engineers that worked on this particular project. The end result is complete and utter horseshit. Some of them may be competent engineers, but if we're being honest, they're probably at best C and D grade players, because all the world's best engineers are already working for, or trying to get a job working for, Elon Musk. The environment in which they're working at has produced a literal turd for a thermal management system in the Ford Mach-E, the so-called Model Y killer. So with that said, let's get into the video. If you love crypto, stocks, and free stuff, or just want to help out the channel, check out these great offers. BlockFi are launching the world's first Bitcoin rewards credit card. People in the US can earn 1.5% Bitcoin back on every purchase with no annual fee using the BlockFi Bitcoin rewards credit card. Check out the link in the description. And for a limited time, you can get up to $250 in crypto bonuses when funding a new account on BlockFi, where you can use cryptocurrency to earn interest, borrow cash, and buy or sell crypto. If you want your free crypto, use the link in the description. And if you'd like up to 2 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 1 free stock valued up to $300 just for opening an account. And if you make an initial deposit of $5 or more, you'll get a second free stock valued up to $2,000. Seriously. Free stocks? Yes, please. And finally, if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake, also linked in the description. Thanks so much for your support, guys. Let's get back to it.
Hey, hi, boys and girls. Today we're going to do a little bit of a comparison. You've already heard us talk a little bit about the heating and cooling system that we've got here on the Tesla Model Y. Today what we're going to do is we're going to compare this. We're going to compare the Model Y heating and cooling system to what we found on the Mach-E. And I think you're going to be surprised by the differences that we found.
I love how politically correct Sandy Munro is here. You'll be surprised at the differences, whereas this guy's like steaming pile of shit, absolute cluster. embarrassing, blah, 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 blah. But he's getting at the same point. Ultimately, this is truly embarrassing, and you guys are going to see exactly why.
Today as well, we're going to have Corey Steuben, our president, and Ben Lindemood, who's in charge of the teardown here on the Mach-E. They're going to be doing most of the talking because, quite frankly, this is a really complicated system, and I don't want to bugger it up. So I'm going to start off with Corey, and he's going to start talking a little bit about what we found here on the Tesla. And then as he's talking, Ben is going to be showing you the corresponding componentry and whatnot that's associated with the Mach-E. So with that, Corey, it's all yours. I'm going to get out of the way.
First thing I want people to notice here is location, location, location. Many of the components for the Tesla Model Y are very close together. What Ben is going to do is he's going to bring the corresponding pieces and parts that we found on the Mach-E, put them on the table, and then compare and contrast the hoses and lines that run between them. Right here is the R1234YF pump. Notice it's hanging off of this cross-car bracket from the Tesla Model Y. Tesla chose a steel bracket to go across, Ford chose an aluminum. But as we look at how things are mounted, how they're isolated, and the distances apart, we can see that Tesla focused heavily on getting everything as close together as possible. If you look at the back, because this is a heat pump system, the lines run in an exact straight line. When comparing and contrasting to the Ford Mustang Mach-E, you'll notice that the lines are not nearly as concise. So Ben, do you want to go ahead and grab the first component to compare, and we can talk through the differences?
All right, well, first we're going to grab all the lines that the Mach-E has, which is, as you can see, a whole bunch of lines when compared to what the Tesla Model Y had. There's actually 35 different hoses here, which is a very large number when looking at the thermal system.
Well played, gentlemen. Got to give some credit there. That was highly entertaining. I mean, what better way to just show the contrast between Tesla's lean and efficient ultra-compact design of their Octovalve heat pump than to require dumping a box full of what looks like half-eaten spaghetti bolognese onto the table, the absolute cluster of noodly hoses required for the Mach-E's thermal management system. What a great contrast. Now guys, just picture this in your head. This level of engineering garbage, one of the most important systems in the entire vehicle is the thermal management system. Another of the equally important components, software, which nobody notices as a consumer, but underneath the hood really matters. The third thing, of course, being the battery system itself. These are the three most important components in electric vehicles. And Ford, with their brilliant engineering, their 100+ years of automotive manufacturing experience, have produced this.
And then pulling out a few of the other parts that Corey had just talked about, we'll start with the bracket that they're using for mounting most of this. This is the crosscar beam. This also holds the motor up as well as the electronics. So Ford is doing more than just the thermal systems with this component. So it is much larger than what it needs to be, but it would be the equivalent part in the Mach-E. And then we also have the compressor that the Mach-E is using, but it's not mounted just like that. There is a noise isolating diaper that goes around it, and they have a bracket and then an isolator to hold it in place. So there's a lot more that's happening with these parts. And then Corey also mentioned the refrigerant lines there and how they were very straight and to the point with their design. These are very turned, they're very bent. Not a straight line ran here, so they have to wrap around parts to get to where they need to be. So, Corey, if you want to take a look at some of the next parts.
Yeah, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the valves and the ethylene glycol system. So we have one bottle here. The Ford Mach-E has multiple bottles. The valve, the Octovalve, which we've covered at length in previous videos, we may pop up a little video how that works. That quarterbacks the fluid through the systems. So rather than having a disassociated valve and disassociated pumps, the pumps and the valves are all right here. We've reassembled this system to give the viewers a sense of how close the items are packaged together. And you can see one motor, one valve, all within a few inches of each other. And the bottle is connected to the nylon manifold that flows all the fluid throughout. Another item that we're going to talk about as I spin this around is the liquid-cooled condenser and the chiller. The chiller on the Ford Mustang Mach-E is located on the right rail. Ben can pull that part out and we'll show how that chiller is mounted. This chiller is mounted directly to this semi-solid forging. This allows for 0 lines between the R1234YF system and 0 lines from the ethylene glycol system. So Ben, can you pop up that the chiller?
We will grab the chiller next. We have the chiller, and then of course they need a mounting bracket to be able to put that to the right rail. And then a few of the other components that Corey had just gone over. There are 2 bottles reservoirs on the Mach-E. There are 2 coolant loops that they are using, so they need to supply both of them. They are the same part, so they did get some commonality out of it. But they have a coolant loop for their battery that runs through their PTC, and then the heater, the cabin heater. And then their other loop runs through their electronics and motors. And because of that, they need to have multiple pumps in their system. They have a total of 4 pumps. Here are 2 of them and their corresponding brackets. And then again, there are 2 loops, 2 more pumps for the second loop. Because they have so much hose, they need to have more pressure to pump them through the system.
This is just so embarrassing. Because the engineering in the Mach-E thermal management system is so terrible, such garbage, they're requiring additional parts just to compensate for their shitty engineering. This is like the reverse of a great flywheel effect. The worse the engineering, the more parts and processes are required just to get by. As we've heard from Elon Musk and basically any engineer who understands engineering, the best part is no part. The best process, no process. Ford's engineering is so bad that they're being forced to add even more parts they shouldn't even need just to compensate for the terrible engineering.
And then they have valves as well, because they are changing how their coolant is run depending on how, what conditions the vehicle is being ran in. They have a 4-way valve and a 2-way valve that they use.
Plus bracket.
And then again, as Sandy said, more brackets. And some more brackets there on the table back here. So they have brackets that are holding all of their parts together. There's a lot of fasteners that go with each of these brackets as well. So there's a lot of assembly time to put this all together.
Yeah. Sandy's initial reaction was genuine. I know he called this a nightmare. That may have been a little bit of a stretch, but when we look at designs, we're not necessarily looking at just cost and weight, but we're looking at sometimes the elegance of how things are designed. Seeing these 2 pumps directly mounted to a manifold on the Tesla, seeing those 4 pumps mounted separately with their own brackets, sometimes 2 brackets, that causes us to think, what were those decisions that went into designing this? And Ben and Sandy, you can hit on the amount of hoses that we had on the Mach-E versus the amount of hoses that we had on the Tesla.
Well, we've still got a couple more spare parts here that we have to kind of address.
Yeah, we
in
have
order
it.
to.
I honestly cannot get over just how bad the engineering is here. I mean, the contrast is truly incredible. Just look at the difference between Tesla's thermal management system there. Tight, efficient, integrated, beautiful, lean, efficient engineering, brilliant design, versus the absolute monstrosity strewn across the table there that does the same job. And they're not even finished adding all the parts and components that are required for this. This is actually unbelievable. Like, it looks like a bad joke, like a prank. Maybe it's April 1st. What's the date? Oh, wait, no, we're in July. Okay, can't be that.
Right.
In order to make this compliant, I guess.
Right, and one part that is on the Model Y that Corey hasn't mentioned yet is the 12-volt battery. That's just where Tesla chose to place it. It doesn't have anything to do with the thermal system. We're just trying to show equivalency here. So we have a battery and a battery tray that went with it. And then we have the parts that are equivalent to the LCC and the heat pump that Tesla is using. We have you want to grab that one? We have the PTC heater with 2 brackets for the PTC heater. And then we have the condenser, which is located at the front of the vehicle.
This is the condenser. So we started looking at this, and you recall when I was working with the Chinese on their products, I had a little rule: every engineer 1 gram every day. So we have a look at this, and we have a look at that, and we just start. we decided we'd put down a little bit of the size and weight associated with this design versus what we have here at Tesla. So if we look at the Mach-E, the number of pipes and whatnot, if you stretched them all out into one, you'd have 18.42 meters. That's quite a ways. If you look at the Model Y, you're looking at 6.35 meters. If you look at the number of hoses here on the Mach-E, you're looking at 35 parts. Over there, you got 10. If you look at the weight of just the coolant that has to be used, just the coolant, this is not the weight of the hoses, just the coolant, you're looking at 22.4 kilograms. Whereas the guys over here on the Model Y have 9.2 kilograms.
So if anyone's watching who has direct contact with Jim, Bear Stearns' fine don't buy Tesla stock Kramer, perhaps you could pass along this information. The numbers don't lie. Jim Cramer has recently said, quite embarrassingly I've got to say, that he believes Ford stock is a better investment today than Tesla stock. I mean, what planet is this guy on? Now, I might also suggest you pass on this information. Remember, these are numbers, not feelings, not hyperbole, not emotions, numbers, facts, to the Tesla Q folks. But there's one slight challenge there. I don't think that any amount of evidence, any amount of data is actually going to convince a single one of these basement-dwelling, self-hating, mentally challenged adult virgins that Tesla isn't doomed and headed for imminent bankruptcy.
Okay, so we go back to grams. Look at the weight just in the fluid. Just in the fluid. Now, people have been talking about the batteries. Oh, we had a bigger battery, so we're going to get longer range. You aren't going to get range if you can't get rid of weight. Remember, I keep saying the same stuff over and over again. I need weight reduction. I need a coefficient of drag that's low. I need to have really good friction characteristics. And I need efficiency when it comes to wiring and plumbing. This is where things start to fall apart on the Mach-E. But bear in mind, this is the second best product that we've looked at. That's ponderous, isn't it? This is better than everything else that we've seen apart from Tesla. This is better than everybody else.
That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the mic drop moment. This cluster, this embarrassment, this nightmare, this thermal management system on the Mach-E is the second best that Munro and Associates have seen after Tesla, compared to every other automotive manufacturer making their own electric vehicles. This is the second best in terms of competition. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I say the vast majority of legacy automotive manufacturers are going bankrupt this decade. They're fucked. There's no other way to say it. They don't have the engineering talent, the leadership, the experience, the insight, the culture. They've got nothing going for them, and they produce results like this. This is number 2. Literally, number 2. Get it? Because the steaming pile is shit. Yeah, that was kind of bad. So while the so-called competition is coming prematurely, embarrassingly fast, and all over itself, as we've just seen, you think Tesla's sitting idly going, oh, well, we're pretty far ahead now. Let's just stop innovating. Let's stop coming up with new ways to do more with less. Let's stop pioneering new ways to manufacture vehicles. Let's stop trying to improve things. Let's stop trying to be more efficient. No, that's kind of the point. Tesla is so far ahead, it's already embarrassing. And their lead is accelerating. And it's not just in terms of the engineering of the vehicle. It's not just in terms of the thermal management system. It's not just in terms of software. It's not just in terms of their manufacturing systems. Shout out to the gigantic Gigapress. It's not just to their approach to solving autonomy. It's not just to the fact that they're willing to invent new machinery and new materials never before seen on planet Earth just to get things done. It's also the fact that they're already manufacturing at scale, around 1 million vehicles per year already. This gives them economies of scale and a great feedback loop. The more they make, the more they can learn, the more efficient they can become, the more they can drive down costs, blah, 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 blah. It's game over. Tesla has won the decade. and the next decade.
So here's the deal. Everybody that's in the industry has really got to start looking hard at what's the competition doing, what are we doing, and how are we going to be effective in the future. This is a good example of how much of a difference there is between the Mach-E, the Tesla Model Y, and then try and picture what it would look like if we had something from somebody else which is even more dramatically different than what this is. Really and truly, if we're going to make a success in the EV world, every engineer, 1 gram every day. And in this case, 1 kilogram. Anyway, that's, I think, our wrap up.
Well, Sandy Munro and the folks over at Munro Life have truly exposed Tesla's competition by revealing what's under the hood. The fact that this is the best they've seen when compared to Tesla just shows that Tesla are truly in a league of their own. Let me ask you guys a question. If you were to participate in a foot race against the world's fastest human being who also has infinite stamina, more endurance, and can just keep running at top speed for longer than you can, if they're in a race and they're already a few laps ahead of you and you're just getting to the starting blocks now, how do you catch up to them? The answer is you don't. This is what's happening with Tesla. Not only are they miles in front in terms of their lead, but their lead is accelerating. They truly have an unassailable lead, meaning no one is catching them, period. The best that any legacy automotive manufacturers can hope for, the best case scenario, is 5-7 years into the future when they realize they're about to go bankrupt. They can knock on Tesla's door and say, hey Tesla, can we please license your technology? We would just like to become window dressers. And what do I mean by that? Quite simple. They buy Tesla's skateboard, their battery, their powertrain, rah, 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 and all they do is slap a Ford logo on the back, and then brand loyal consumers who are happy to have an inferior product for a worse price just because it's got the Ford logo on it will go, you know what, I'm going to buy the Ford that's powered by Tesla inside. This is the only scenario in which I see legacy automotive manufacturers surviving the decade without going bankrupt, being acquired, or merging. And I know this sounds hyperbolic, but I keep repeating this because I know I'm going to be right, and in a few years' time I'll be clipping these videos and going, hey guys, I called it again. Why would I do that? More credibility for my future predictions. Just like my future prediction that Tesla is going to completely disrupt utilities, and Tesla today is evolving into one of the world's leading artificial intelligence companies. So as I wrap up here, I just want to ask you guys and girls a question, and I really mean that. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Can you believe just how bad the engineering is in the Mach-E thermal management system? If I'm being honest, I was expecting legacy automotive to be terrible in terms of engineering, especially with things to do with the thermal management system, the batteries, software, obviously, and even their manufacturing processes for new electric vehicles because it's something they haven't really done before. But I was shocked, truly surprised at just how bad this is. The fact that this is the best thing that Munro and Associates have seen besides what Tesla's produced, which is in a league of its own, is really disturbing and doesn't bode well for legacy automotive manufacturers or anyone attempting to compete with Tesla. A little bit of food for thought. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan, this is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget the BlockFi Bitcoin Rewards credit card where you can earn 1.5% Bitcoin back on every purchase. There's a link in the description. You can also earn up to $250 in crypto bonuses when funding a new account on BlockFi, also linked below. And finally, don't forget your free stocks with WeBull and Stake, also linked in the description. These great offers also help out the channel. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.